Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
And welcome into Life Planning 101 right here on KTX KWBY. Terry Slavens with you on this marvelous Monday morning, and Angela Kennedy Robinson also with us on this marvelous Monday morning.
We have a great topic today. I had a visit with a gentleman and his wife, and we've been working with them probably close to 20 years now, and did all of their planning. Obviously, they came through the seminars that we did many years ago, where we used to host them through McMurray, and they were in that 3-night class, and they still, abide by keeping their budget. They still do the same things that they did when they started with us, which is pretty phenomenal. And so, we're at a later stage in their retirement, and we were having a conversation. And a few years ago, when you would talk to this couple, they were all about being able just to spend their money and enjoy their life. And the table really turned in this conversation. And what was kind of disturbing was this is a very successful family. And he said, I realize now that I need to position this money so that it'll take care of my children in their retirement. And he said they obviously did not get the same abilities that I had, the same lessons that I had. And he said, did I fail them? What did I do wrong? Because here they are successful in their own accord, but they have nothing. And it disheartened me in a sense, because here's a couple, and if you knew them, I mean, just absolutely wonderful couple. And actually, we do know their children, and they're wonderful children. They're wonderful people. But something missed. Something got amiss there, because obviously the concern is real and it is true. And so I took that and I went to researching and kind of looking at some things. And I think this is a concern for a lot of people out there. If you go and you look at the biggest financial concerns, usually it's not running out of money, right, healthcare costs, or children. So it's in those top 3 financial concerns anywhere you look on different, websites and Googles and this and that. So, why is it such a big concern? What is the big deal? Well, if you actually went back and you looked at statistics, and there's an old saying about short sleeves to short sleeves in 3 generations, right? Right. Meaning the people that make the wealth usually don't carry it down through a couple generations. And that is so true, because there is a study that was done recently by Williams Group Wealth that said about 70% of wealth is lost by the second generation, 90% by the third. So, what are we doing wrong as a society if that's the case, right?
Not planning?
Not planning. What's going on? Because, if you work so hard for what you have in the legacy built, do you want to see it disappear after you're gone? And moreover, forget the legacy that you've built. What do you want for your children? What's important to you for them, and what should you be passing on to them? Should it be money, or should it be intellectual capital? And which is more important, right? Which is worth more? And I think this is something that we have to really take a step back and look at ourselves in the mirror, because, we always say progress starts by telling the truth. And I think we're always defiant to the fact that our family could have issues. We always say our family's different. Well, there's an old rule of thumb that we've applied by forever that says, if you have made X amount of dollars and saved X amount of dollars, then when you inherit, you can inherit that same X amount of dollars and be able to have the wherewithal and the appreciation to take care of that money and to make sure that it's managed appropriately.
Right.
If it goes beyond that number, typically there's some issues there, because they don't know what it took to save it. They don't know what it took to get it to where it is today, or to protect it, right? And then there's this disattachment. We talk about this all the time on the show about, are you emotionally attached to your own money?
Most people are.
Right. And part of the psychology behind that is because you work so dang hard to get it, right? So if you weren't the one that works so dang hard to get it,
It's easier to spend it.
It's easier to spend it, right? We've just disinherited that emotional attachment to it, which, what is that all about? Well, here's some other statistics I found interesting when I was researching, okay? So 78% of people out there today that have over $3 million of investable assets feel that their children are irresponsible and not going to be able to take care of their wealth. 78%. Okay, that was done by U.S. Trust. That's a big number, right? Brings me back to a story I remember from years ago. We had a gentleman come in our office, and he said, I really need to bring my boys in here because I just feel like something's wrong. And he was right. He ended up dying about a month later. And he said, I know something's wrong. We went to the doctor, he couldn't find anything. And so he brought his 2 boys in. And he said, okay, kids, here's what I want you to be able to do. And if you do this, this will be here for your retirement and be able to take care of you. And yada, 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 right? So all that happened. Dad died. Boys came in. I don't even think it was a couple weeks after the funeral was over. Maybe not even that long. Pulled out everything. One had plans to do this, and one had plans to do this. And, they said, Dad just didn't understand.
Dad did understand.
Dad did understand, and that's exactly what we told them. Dad did understand, and that is so true. So what is that disconnect? What is going on with that, and why does that happen? Right? Going back to that survey of those U.S. trusted with people with 3 million of investable assets or more, 64% have disclosed little or nothing about their financial situation to their children. There's a big aha, right?
Yeah.
So when we come back to the show, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about some of the problems that are in our current society that we feel like are causing this, and then some possible solutions.
It all continues right here on Life Planning 101 on KATX KWBY. Segment 2, Life Planning 101. Angela?
Right, and we're talking about the financial situation of your children and grandchildren. And, I think, we've, at Kennedy Financial Services, obviously we've been planning since 1989. The stories go a lot further back than that because,
Your
Dad
doesn't have any stories, does he?
No stories, right?
And
Since the
banking,
70s. That's exactly right. So we've seen a lot of generational transfer through the years. And, I think that makes us a very valuable player in this area because we kind of help people avoid a lot of pitfalls, and most of them have nothing to do with the money. They have everything to do with the emotions, and we focus so much on that, and that's why we call it a lot life planning. But I do think you have to pay attention to the money because the money, even though the money shouldn't be the focus, the money can actually ruin the family.
Right.
And I think we have to remember that. Sometimes we don't want to.
Well, you have a situation where a $3 million estate, which is good. I mean,
yes,
okay.
Especially for, 1, 2, 3 kids inheriting it.
Right. But then you have 3 kids that each inherit $1 million. You have one child that is irresponsible.
That's right.
And then you have the other 2 who were responsible. And now the irresponsible one's mad because he has nothing,
yes.
or she, and the other
yes.
2 are prospering.
Yes, and there's so many questions around that, and so many, how do I do this? How do I do that? And, my dad always likes to say all of our children are dysfunctional, and he always says that right in front of me. But, all of my children are
always
dysfunctional.
Always talk about Aaron, right?
Obviously, right? But it's just a matter of how dysfunctional each of them is. And, that is true. We all have dysfunctions.
Everybody does.
Everybody does. And, we have to be open. We have to be willing to face those dysfunctions to fix anything. Because if you don't lay it on the table, you don't lay the truth on the table, how can you ever move forward if you're unwilling to even look at the truth in the face? And I think that's the biggest part of this is that, that's why when you look back at that study before we left for the break with U.S. Trust, that 64% of these people that have over $3 million in investable assets haven't even said anything to their kids or their grandkids. Think about that, right? And it's no wonder, here's a follow-up statistic on that from Investment News, 66% of people that inherit money fire their parents' advisors. 66%.
That's a real Einstein move.
Yes, it is. So you think about the logic here. It doesn't match up, right? So why is this happening? What is actually causing this? Well, number one, we see that there's no communication between parent and second generation. And that is a hard one because I remember those teenage years and when you would actually be able to be understanding that, what you could do, that's a hard one to overcome. But think about it this way too, okay? In our great nation today, there's 368,000 billboards, 1,286 daily newspapers, 7,216 magazines, 1,767 commercial TV stations, 15,503 radio stations, 600,000 to a million new books published every single year, 85 billion pieces of junk mail delivered each year.
More on election years.
Right. And then to add to all of this, we haven't even mentioned websites. In 1998, there were 26 million web pages.
20 years ago.
Yes. 2000, that number was a billion. Today, there's over 1.3 trillion websites out there. A trillion isn't even a fathomable number for us. So I actually broke this down because it's like, okay, what is a trillion? I got to get this in my head, right? So think about 1 second. 1,001 gone, right? So to get to 1,000 seconds, just 1,000, it takes 15 minutes. To arrive at 1 billion seconds, it takes 32 years.
Wow.
To get to a trillion, you ready for this? 32,000 years.
32,000 years.
Yes. So I want you to think about the information overload that your children are receiving. Is it good information? Is it bad information? How do they know? How do they sort through it? How do I invest my retirement? And I promise you 7 things are going to pop up. Is any of those the right fit for them? Do they know that? You know, when you think about this, I take it back to the medical profession all the time. Let's say that you broke your leg and you needed to go to the hospital and get it x-rayed and get a cast put on it. Okay. Are you going to be at home Googling the best way to x-ray your own leg, cast your own leg, or does that just even sound ridiculous?
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, right? Okay.
So why do that with your money?
Right. And we do it all the time with our money. We do it all the time. Everybody does it with their money. We all do it with our money. We've done it with our health. You know, we always
Google symptoms.
We Google symptoms and we get scared to death and nearly have a heart attack because what we just read, and we go to find out it's just a cold.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is what happens. And your kids, think about them. How much more time did they spend on their smartphones and devices than you do or ever did?
Right.
Okay. So we're creating this waterfall effect just to set up just damage. And how are we going to create some damage control here? Because that's what needs to happen. Because your kids have been exposed to all kinds of things. And it doesn't matter if your kids are the ones in their 50s, if they're the ones in their 40s, if they're the ones in their 30s, 20s, or whatever. They're all in that generation of this right here. Information overload. So how do you know what to do? How are you able to overcome this? How are you able to start having those conversations that need to be had? Because is it important to you that your children know how to use your money to benefit them and their grandkids or their kids? Or is it not important and you just want to see it wilted away?
Very interesting.
Yes. When we come back, we're going to give you some answers, believe it or not, right here on Life Planning 101.
Final segment already. Life Planning 101 on this marvelous Monday. Angela has solutions for us.
Yes,
today.
solutions right here from our very own Life Planning 101 show. Very seldom do we get to talk about solutions. And the reason why is because everybody's situation is so unique.
Right.
But I think this is a common thread. We live in a world that the wealth is in the older generations or very young generations. The middle ground doesn't have it, okay? And then we have, all these older generations that are worried about their kids and their grandkids getting the money. And no wonder, because they don't talk to them about it, number one.
64%.
Right? The kids are dysfunctional in one way or another. Obviously, that's probably the reason they don't talk to them about it, right? Those kids are also underinsured, whether it be life insurance, disability, long-term care, whatever it is. They haven't taken care of their needs for their family.
Won't ever happen to me.
Yep, won't ever happen to me. They're underfunded in every way. Bankrate actually has some great stats on this. 31% of people is all that have an emergency savings in our country.
3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. Ouch,
and what
right?
did I hear on the news just this past week that record high credit card debt?
That's right. Half of Americans save less than 5%.
And they should be saving
20 to 30. Yeah, absolutely. After last week's show with Medicare and Social Security, Terry, just raise your number, okay?
Yes.
Just raise it.
People in their 50s.
Yeah, yours probably needs to be 50%. Anyway, But, the truth is that this hurts. This hurts to talk about and try to figure out a solution, because how do you get back to being a parent for your children when they've been out of the house for 20 years or 30 years even? And how do you recircle without them feeling like you're trying to control their situation? They're going to have mixed emotions about this. And obviously, you want to control your money and you want to control what's going to happen to it. So there's a lot of battling that occurs. And, our solution has always been, start with the basics. Start with the fundamentals. Communication is key, obvious, and that needs to happen. But more importantly, remember that old rule I said that if you've been able to earn and save that amount of money, you can inherit that amount of money safely, right, and be able to take care of it. So get your children to doing what you did. Get your children to focus on what's most important, creating that budget, creating that foundation plan, that the what ifs, that covers the what ifs, making sure that their estate plans are in place, or their life insurance is in place, or, they've got a proper amount of retirement money going back every single month, whatever that is. Let them be a financial steward of their own money. Isn't that the best solution? Because when they get it, what are they going to act like with that new money?
It's going to be just the same.
Exactly.
It's status quo.
It's the status quo, right? So it's not going to be all new. Everything's new. Think about that. If they've ever had to create a plan for themselves, everything's brand new. So, how do you do that? Well, over the last few years, we've made this a huge center because we've seen this. We've seen this problem over and over again. So we've made it a focus to be able to help the next generation through all their crazy life, whether it's managing their children and trying to get a career going, and when it's most not important, to make it easy on them. We've gotten technology tools that are just wonderful. We have an online life planning software that moves with you daily. Virtually tells you where you are at on a daily basis and what it's going to look like if you save an extra $100 a month, and you can play with it at your house. If you don't want to play with it at your house, you just have an advisor to be able to tell you what to do. But it's accessible to you. It keeps your budget for you. Okay, my gosh, that's wonderful. You feed your bank account in there. It shows you everywhere that you're spending money and what you're spending it on, so you and your spouse can be able to go through and say, is this sustainable? Can we do this, or do we need to be able to make adjustments, right? And, let them go through, even though the tools are different, let them go through the same process. It's still the same process of when you hand wrote your budget many years ago. Terry, you were talking about how your dad always gave your mom the money, and she managed everything financially. Well, I'm sure she did that with a paper, right, and a pen, back in the day.
A ledger book.
Yeah, a ledger book, exactly. So even though the tools are different, the process is still the same, and it still has to happen the same. They've still got to be able to come to the same place. That's why we've implemented online life insurance calculators, online life insurance quoting. We do it all there. So, kids or whoever, whatever generation you belong to, whatever you feel most comfortable with, you can sit around with a trusted source and be able to do it. We've been writing articles for over a decade now. One a week. You can add that up in your head, right? That's a lot of information that's accessible on our website. Why do we do it? Because there's all this information overload. And how do you know what to sort through? Well, if someone wants to look up on something on just simply putting money back in a 401k and what they need to do on their savings, they can Google that on our website and be able to come up with something. So, I think one of the biggest things that you can do for your children today is introduce them, open that door to your trusted advisor today. Don't wait till the end of life. Don't wait till they may, be one of those 66% that take the money out and do something else with it. Do it today. Right. Help them build their foundation on their goals and what's important to them. Plan without the inheritance so that when they get the inheritance, they know how to be able to take care of it.
And that's, if as kids you've struggled, you maybe not struggled, but live paycheck to paycheck.
That's right. And
then all of a sudden you have this influx of cash coming home.
How do you know how to handle it?
And what are you going to, buy a new truck?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly. In addition to this, and this goes back to that emotional aspect you brought up earlier in the show, Terry, and it is so important. We have focused on building a team of people that we bring into what we call dire situations when we do have severe dysfunctionality. So, family relationships and large amounts of wealth that can probably never be handled by the kids. And these include, family retreats. We have family counselors. We have trustees that we use. We've got a diversity of advisors in our own office. There are people that want to talk to a woman. Well, thank God I'm a woman, right? There are people that, a young millennial may not want to talk to anybody else but another millennial. Right. Well, we've got millennials.
Or some want to just talk to your dad.
That's right. And there are those that don't want to talk to anybody without a solid, full head of gray hair. No offense. But that is so true.
2 weeks in a row.
Yes, 2 weeks in a row. I'm just lambasting you. Sorry. But anyway, the thing is that you want to be able to open that door so they have a place of trust. And you need to know, and you need to be comfortable with the fact that what they share with their advisor is none of your business. Just like yours is none of their business.
Right.
But the truth is that you need to open the door for that confidant. So what's most important? Is it knowing their business or being able to know that they're going to be okay after you're gone?
Make sure they're okay.
That's right.
Make sure it's taken care of.
Make sure they're okay. So follow us on Twitter, our KFS Life Planning Weekly Poll. Are your children and grandchildren receiving good financial advice today? They need to be.
One.
They need to be, right? So make it your focus. Make it your time. I know Easter season's coming up. It's a good time to talk about it. It's a good time to bring it up. My name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services here in the great town of Eastland, Texas. God bless everyone. Have a great week. And join in next week at Life Planning 101.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Calton & Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.